So if you have all my kids, I go, what's our rhythm? They all, like an army, go dung, 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 and they tap. Because I'm most of the time walking next to them while they do basic stuff, like the A run series. And my whole thing is you need to be able to make your limbs move that fast to be fast. Like there is no one who's running very fast that's running below a 4-step per second cadence. It's even arguably 4.5, right? It's higher than that.
Mm-hmm.
If you have all my kids, I go, what's our rhythm? They all, like an army, go dung, 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 and they tap. Because I'm most of the time walking next to them while they do basic stuff, like the A run series. And my whole thing is you need to be able to make your limbs move that fast to be fast. Like there is no one who's running very fast that's running below a 4-step per second cadence. It's even arguably 4.5, right? It's higher than that.
Mm-hmm. Welcome back to the Athletic Performance Podcast. Today I have, I guess I'll call you an internet friend, Ryan Hopkins on. Man, I'm going to let you do the introduction. So just rewind the tape for me. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into strength and conditioning in the first place, and kind of what twist in the journey shaped where you are today as a coach.
Awesome. Well, first, thanks for having me on. It's always good to rap about stuff with like-minded professionals. But the short story is I am the owner, and I'm the co-owner of Soho Strength Lab in New York City. I've been a strength coach for 15 years. I started out very much in regular personal training. So I actually had an Equinox. I went to school for athletic training, decided that didn't really want to be an athletic trainer. And I did all kinds of stuff for a couple years before I decided that I was actually even going to use training. And then eventually I basically ended up working in a warehouse, driving trucks around and forklifts. And I had turned the entire warehouse into a gym anyway. So I figured out how to make a forklift into a bench press, into a GHD, all the stuff. And I was like, you know what, I should probably do this. And so what I did was I just went and got a personal training certification. I went to the best gym that I knew, which was Equinox, which was an awesome experience for me, but naturally has kind of a ceiling if you're not just like a hardcore, like fitness fun personal trainer.
Right.
But if you're like trying to go strength and conditioning route, it's just a little bit different. And yeah, I had two guys that I worked with that were both in college sports and kind of recognized hey, this is not like, we love what we do, but this is not the setting. So we opened Soho Strength Lab in 2013 with the idea of like just dropping a D1 college weight room in the middle of downtown Manhattan. And it went off really well. So that's what I tell you. It was just kind of like naturally fell back into what I love doing, and got really lucky when we opened a gym that it did what it did.
Yeah, that's amazing. You know, the concept of like training athletes in New York is so foreign to me because I live in Kentucky, which like we're right outside of Cincinnati. So it's all suburbs. So like there's schools around, there's kids. Like New York, I'm like, I don't see kids. I don't really know where the schools are. Like, where are these athletes coming from? Where do they train? Like, where's a field? And like, so it's really that whole part of it's just interesting to me. But I actually had a funny story for you. So I was an athletic trainer for a day in college, and I went to the university. Yeah, I went to the University of Kentucky, and like day zero, they're giving me a stack of clothes, like probably 3 feet high, shoes, all this UK gear. I'm like bragging to my roommates. I'm like, guys, look at this. Like, this is so lit. And next day, I actually go in to do the job, and they give me a fanny pack, and it's got, it's basically the boo-boo kit, right? Guys have tummy aches, they got tape. And I'm like, this is the dumbest shit ever, because I had no idea what athletic training was. I'm like, oh, athletic training, we're going to train athletes. And I'm like, I am not their little like bitch in the fanny pack, making sure that they can get through practice with whatever ailment they have. I'm like, this was dumb. So I had to turn all of it in. Like, that part of it was really, really hard because it was all, it was Nike. Yeah, man, it was tough, but I had to do it. I was like, I can't do one more day of this. Like, this is horrible. So to ATs out there, no shade to you guys. You're amazing. Yeah, we definitely need you, but just wasn't for me. So
Same.
Anyway, shifting gears, man. You and I both geek out about speed. We love it. I think every athlete who wants to dominate should love it. So I'm going to start broad here, and we'll kind of, drift wherever the wind takes us. But when it comes to developing young athletes, where are the biggest untapped opportunities right now? And specifically to your philosophy, what are some of the non-negotiables when it comes to developing these guys?
So that's a really good question. Again, pretty broad, so I'll try to be as concise as I possibly can. I would say where I see untapped potential, and this is going to sound really like duh, but is basic body control and coordination. Even this is going to sound really basic, but even ground-based stuff where they just have time to sit still and feel stuff and to kind of get educated with their body and what's what and where is what, I think is a really, really big one. I think that we automatically jump into performance mode when it comes to like athletic development. But a lot of times the reason those kids are there is because they're already doing all the athletics and they do need the gaps starting to be filled in. And then I think it would be stuff like ankles and feet, because that is what I see is a lot of these kids can actually push pretty good. But if you just look like just downstream of their knees, what's splashing out all over the place is the feet and the ankles. And I would say, that would be those are the kind of the two main things that I work on are like kind of ground-based body control, whether it's like easy stuff like side planks or dead bug isos or any kind of stuff like that where they can really feel stuff work well, helps me a whole lot. And then again, if I'm really foot and ankle centric for a lot of the young kids and all the way up through development. But I think that's a big one that people miss.
Okay, I like that. I mean, I think a lot of the shoes, the design of them now, it's like a sensory deprivation shoe, right? Like these athletes
Amen.
feel nothing. They don't know what's
Yes.
going on. And I mean, I honestly just want to burn most of the shoes that the athletes come in with. We have a shoe guide now that we send out to our parents because I'm like, you cannot wear Hokas to train. Like, I don't, like, what is this? Like we're not going just forward. These are athletes. They're cutting, they're changing directions. But one of the things you touched on that I think is so important that I like to say is awareness begets opportunities. And you talk about athletes really developing this awareness of maybe foot ground interaction and just where's the knee going in space? What's the kinesthetic kind of sense of what my body is doing? And obviously with some of these kids, like I had a friend, right at that like peak height velocity of puberty. I mean, he was the most uncoordinated person. Like the referees would joke, like, this kid's tripping over the lines on the court, like he was just that kid. So, I mean, let's kind of dive into this foot stuff. Like, what do you think is leading to some of these problems for these young athletes? And what kind of stuff are you doing? And who helped shape that philosophy or made an influence on your thought process regarding this?
Okay, so the first one I would say is I think what's going on is you kind of touched on it already is I've had so many kids show up to do evaluations in Hokas, right? And this is just a brand name shoe, but like just with the amount of cushion and padding and comfort that these kids are self-selecting for these shoes that are super squishy and comfortable. And they, like you said, they don't get much. My most athletic kids, this is actually a really funny story. I have a kid who is in 10th grade. He is an absolute freak when it comes to like big offers and stuff like that in football. He's got a lot already because he sets himself apart. I looked at his catapult data and I was like, why is his energy expenditure and his distance so far? And I looked at it, so I zoomed out from the field, and there are these rings around the field. And I was like, why are all these white rings? So I was like, Ty, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I was out without my shoes walking around the perimeter of the football field. And I was like, okay, this kid, if you see his foot, his ankles, his lower legs, if you see the angles that he hits, he's insane, right? That's like what sets him apart is he's special from the foot to the knee. So I think it's not a lot of exposure in South Florida. And even for myself, a lot of these kids do grow up without shoes. Like they just walk around. We're outside all day. We don't wear shoes. Right? It's kind of odd to go in the weight room and you got to tell them to put on shoes, right? But I see a lot of kids that just they're not used to like super hard pressure through their feet.
Mm-hmm.
all these other angle exposures. The person who I would say shaped my thought process on it, it's just a collection of people. It's more of like the education of, God, I can't remember. There was a calf profiling book that was maybe like a year or two ago that came out. I can't even remember who wrote it, but the whole
Hold
thing
on.
was about
I
all the
got
sections of, you know what I'm talking about?
I got it right here. I'll tell you the author so we can shout him out.
But like really, really good.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But basically, like the whole thing was like, look, how you segment the foot, how you bend this thing changes how you're using or what portion of your soleus you're using.
Yep.
And
So are you
that to
talking
me
about
was like,
the, sorry to cut you off. Are you talking about the comprehensive calf force profiling book?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Dylan Carmody and
Yeah,
Andy McDonald. And I know one of those guys has a podcast with Mike Robertson. So we'll shout him out too.
yeah, that was like, that to me was that was uh, not a mind blown thing, but I was like, okay, it is I post a lot about this. It's like the interoperability of the foot and the
Mm-hmm.
ankle and how well these things work. It's not the maximum force production ability of that lower leg per se. So a lot of what I do to kind of answer the third part of that question is a lot, just a large variety of stuff. I do some basic ISO stuff with bent knee, straight
Mm-hmm.
knee. I do a lot of inside, outside, edge of foot walking.
Mm-hmm.
I do a lot of kind of like a foot elevated, heels in, everted, kind of like ball of big toe walk. So kind of
Mm-hmm.
purposely getting this toe out of the way and walking on this knuckle.
Okay.
I do a lot of pigeon toed stuff where I'm bending the foot this way and kind of taking steps with the outside edge of the foot. And then we do a ton of isometrics into the wall on inside, outside edge. Do a lot of that stuff. It's like, it's part of every warm up that we do. And my thought is like, I'm never going to hammer it,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm going to.
Okay. No, it's all right.
I thought I
Internet's
had it on. It's all good. So yeah, that's basically it. I do it every day in some capacity. And it, after a year or two, they're like totally different kids. So I'm lucky that uh, I get kids around like the 8th going into 9th grade
mm-hmm.
age range, and then I can work with them heavily all the way until junior and senior year.
Actually, I love the fact that you say it takes a year or two because I feel culturally where our expectation is to get results, in 4 weeks or 12 weeks. And the reality is, like, a lot of these kids have just had muffled feet for a decade or more, or
Yeah,
basically their entire
yeah,
lives. I mean,
yeah,
they're put into like baby Jordans at like before they can even walk. So it's like they're not, in a lot of cases, they're not really developing just some of that infrastructure. Um, but one of the things you kind of danced around that I think is a pretty big problem in strength and conditioning, at least in the US, is that we do a great job from the knee up. But
right.
it's like transferring that force into the ground is sometimes missing, right? So you talked from a volume standpoint, you're doing a little bit every day. So we're talking, maybe 1% of a training session or, 1 minute out of 2 minutes out of 75. Like it's not a huge contribution. Do you have anything that you like to tell your athletes to do on their own that maybe accelerates this process a little bit?
Yeah, I'm pretty annoying in that way, as I always tell them. They're like, hey, like, and obviously there's different stuff that you do, but like, hey, look, if they've got ankle or foot stuff, I give them just a series. It's the same shit that they do in their warm up, and it's the
Mm-hmm.
same stuff because generally they all feel really good afterwards. And so
Mm-hmm.
when they ask me, like, coach, what can I do to improve my ankle range of motion? It's generally the same kind of single leg, bent knee, something or another, or tempo calf raise with, their forefoot suspended a little bit. That's basically it. The biggest thing is for them to get really good at it. So I tell them, like, hey, look, if I'm going to hammer one thing on you all the time, clearly there's a lot of other options, but do you think that I think that that's important? And the answer is always, yeah, of course. Like, all right, so then do that. I'm a really firm believer in there's just not that many things that can really change a person. Like you can't change a lot of things in terms of just like their innate structure, but
Hmm.
it takes a long time to accumulate tissue in some of these dense areas. So you have to be pretty unidirectional, and that's kind of my idea is like I give them the same thing that they're good at. So I know
Hmm.
the quality of work is high. And I think we have to drive in a pretty unidirectional way with a lot of those things to actually make forward progress. I think when you're darting in and out and kind of like maybe dabbling over here, that you're not really spending enough time to, really send a strong signal.
Yeah, that actually kind of leads really nicely into the next question because, especially with kids, how much, speaking to speed, how much is about drilling what we might think of as technical proficiency versus just cutting them loose and letting them run, jump, and compete at very high outputs?
Dude, oh, man, it's like if I had to answer this honestly, I would say like 30%. It is the max that I would account for the drilling.
Hmm.
Right. And a lot of it, like you said, is chasing big outputs because I do think that you've got to bang around the ceiling. I think like you've actually got to press on that thing for whatever you've got that day. You've got to push at a very high percentage.
Yep.
So I think a lot, yeah. And this is, it's been heartbreaking for me now being at two different high schools, like good South Florida high schools for strength and conditioning, is to see like, hey, look, uh, yes, sometimes they're like, if I improve their running efficiency and their body positions and how well they do stuff, that it automatically leads to an improvement in velocity because they're just making better steps,
Hmm.
right? They're ringing off the ground better step to step to step. A lot of it is the environment and what I can get them to do with their friends, and that's truly where I see like, I posted something the other day about a catapult reading of 23.8 miles an hour.
Hmm.
And I was like, hey, Leslie, like I was trying to figure out in that day, they had to do basically like tempo run hundreds.
Hmm.
But these guys will, if they're in a big line, and we have the fastest kid in the country for the 100 and the 200 in
Wow.
our receiver corps. Yeah. So we have kids that run like a 10-1. We have a couple kids that run some sub 10-5. So I was like, what did you do? Were you running 20? I was like, were you in the golf cart? I was like, did you get in the golf cart and drive off? He was like, no, I was racing Zamari. And that's Zamari. That's the kid who won the 100 and the 200. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, did you beat him? He's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, well, that makes sense because he had 1.8 miles an hour faster than Zamari. And he was doing 22. And I was like, okay, I couldn't beg for that, truly.
Hmm.
But I let them just get out and run wild for a split second and gun after each other. There it goes. And I think about all those times where I'm telling them like, hey, we're going to build up intensities and I need you to try to keep the feel of this to this. And it's like you're watering down the product,
Yeah.
and to be honest with you, I just after working with Olympic sprinters in high volume and some super fast high school kids, they're just like that anyway. So if you want the outputs, like put them in the situation to get the outputs and then technique them enough to where you're not losing a lot.
Yeah, that Florida speed's different too, man. Those guys just talk about like chasing rabbits around and stuff or chasing each other.
That's a real thing, though. I mean,
Uh,
that is like the kid that I'm talking about is from Pahokee, Belglade. That is where he's from. He's from the mutt, is what they call it.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's funny in our area because the club sports scene, and this is probably everywhere. So I'm probably appealing to a lot of coaches right now. The club scene is so dominant in terms of capturing all the athletes in this area. And time again, it's just even the kids who have the most skill or are on the ones and two teams I just don't like the only way I can say it is they're just physically underwhelming. They're not that fast. They don't
Yeah,
jump
yeah,
that high. Like there are a
yeah,
few kids who just are real absolute freaks of athleticism. And
yeah.
the hill I'll die on is like you have to train this. One, because the next level, college or whatever it is going to be, they're all going to be much more developed. And
Yes.
it's just time away from your sport So because they're all single sport athletes. So it's like, okay, at this
Yeah.
point, training has got to be your second sport. You need some time off of the
Right.
first one, but getting them to that level is so difficult. And less are they out there playing and running and chasing and just reacting, very organically, like you're talking about.
Listen, that's kind of like the way that I'm like a 50-50. Um, I don't think this is that novel for 2025, but I'm a 50-50 like true speed development in terms of a speed session in my session organization. And then the
Yeah.
back piece is always some sort of highly competitive thing where there are one or two rules and there's context to the drill, but I just want these kids to go after each other. And that's that's the only way that I can get that over the course of like the summer, or even the lead from the end of our season through spring all the way up till now. That's where I've got this ability to keep them like you said, training is kind of their sport for a lot of that period of time. It's me. It's for 4 or 5 days a week. And so my stuff has got to be varied enough to where no, they're not playing their sport. There is some variety, but the outputs are there and the development has to be real. So our whole expression is like, look, did you get better or did you just get a little different because you did different stuff for a couple training cycles? We need to get better and we need to demonstrate that we're getting better. And the only way to do that is to have a real structure and to know what you're doing, but also to, like you said, let them cut loose and get in these environments where it's highly reactive and the speed of play is high, like all the things that they need to stimulate truly is present. So it's, it's a real task, but I would say I couldn't agree more. I like that expression, training your second sport.
Oh, I mean, I don't know who I stole it from. I wish I could give him credit because it's like the best thing I've ever heard, but it just makes so much sense to me. But I'd love for you to dive in a little bit more to just kind of the session structure. I think it'd be really valuable for some coaches to hear that because so many times, we'll get on Instagram and my big beef with like the technical stuff and the guys who are doing, the coaching eye, it's great stuff, but like 99% of the time it's like, oh, this is a rugby union player or this is an Olympian. I'm like, I got a 13-year-old kid. Like, this is not working for them, right? So I feel like some guys do a great job of picking this apart, but like it's kind of lost on the audience. And on the other side, you see some wild like guys who really get the high output side. They got the twitchy stuff going on where they're just tapping as fast as they can or whatever it is. It's like I get the high outputs, but like maybe too much of a good thing. But I know you've got a good blend of how you're putting all this together. So I think it would be so valuable if you'd be willing to share that.
Dude, I would love to. So I think this is like, this is going to sound stupid at first, but I promise I'll tie it all together. I'll do the weave. It's that I think it's actually very simple for a lot of kids from the speed development side. I think that we get lost in textbook movement models. I think that's really, really kind of like, you're not really looking at what you're looking at then. I think that's kind of a problem if we're chasing the white rabbit. But I think okay, so the big things for me are teaching them what I call it the rhythm of speed. Again, another just like word, but it's the 4 step per second cadence as a base rate of movement. So if you have all my kids, I go, what's our rhythm? They all, like an army, go dung, 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 and they tap. Because I'm most of the time walking next to them while they do basic stuff like the A run series. And my whole thing is you need to be able to make your limbs move that fast to be fast. Like there is no one who's running very fast that's running below a 4 step per second cadence. It's even arguably 4.5, right? It's higher than that. So I teach them how to do that. And I teach them how to make a limb exchange in a full range of motion. Those are my two main things, right? Is can you give me dung, 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 dung? Can you build it in that rhythm? And can you move through a full joint range of motion so you express power? So I'm really exclusive with what I actually use. So a lot of it is in the beginning holds, so they understand how to move their pelvis and get a hip lock. So I have them do a ton of things where I have them stand and hike their pelvis, right? Things where they understand what I mean in terms of full range of motion beyond just legs going like this, right? And then I have them work on their cadence. And then I'll have them do stuff like, it's not even a straight leg bound. It's like it's a straight leg bound with a knee bend.
Mm-hmm.
right? And I get them to accelerate. So I teach them, hey, look, even though it's not a traditional acceleration exercise, I need dung 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 dung. I need your hips to move, right? I don't even tell them about their knees or their feet. I just say,
Right.
hey, look, I need your hips to do this. Okay. And then I teach them, okay, most kids when they do that, they start back when they do a straight leg bound, and what do? They lean back and they can their feet and they just kind of like lift it up in front. And I
Mm-hmm.
explain, hey, look, if I'm like this and I'm just kind of like striking the ground, I'm not pulling myself through and hitting. So I tell them, I give me a small lean, and then I want you to hit and pull, and then I need it to be bung 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 bung. And these kids can do, by the time they're good at it, they can straight leg, semi straight leg bound below, like 2.7 seconds on a 20 with a 1-step walk in, and their hips separate really good.
Mm.
Right. And the next thing that I have them do is like, okay, now we have that. Let's do a 3-step push. And my only cue is push, push, push. I need you in that rhythm. Push, push, push. And I have them just get the rhythm. Push, push, push. Push, push, push. And I have them evaluate, did they make speed? So they're like, okay, when I finished my 3-step push, did you have a lot of momentum? Like, were you skipping on down the way and you're like, oh shit, like I'm really moving,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or were you stubby and were you able to stop within the next 5 to 10 yards, right? And then they understand that like when they get great steps and they push out, they do a really good job and they can feel, oh shit, I accelerated perfect, right? And that's a really easy way for me to do it. And then all I do is I go push, 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 and then I go push, 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 and then I get it out to where it's at 10 yards, right? That's how I start every kid. And once they can nail a 7-step, 6.5, 7-step, push, 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 in that rhythm, building each step on step on step on step, they're moving. If I go further than that, it depends on their sport,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, sorry about that. So even for something like baseball, like 30 yards is the farthest that I'm going to go,
Mm-hmm.
but I'll still teach them how to run 30 yards perfect.
Right.
Because you can run a great 10, but it might, you might have your shitty angles and it doesn't mean anything from 10, 20.
Yeah.
So what I do for that, and what I think is really important, is I coach the first 10 to be at like 92%. I say, give me 92% for the first 10. For the second 10, give me like 95 to 98%. So they understand that they are still building and still accelerating.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they get from 20 to 30, if I go that far, that's where I want to see, like, can you do 98 to 102? Can you build it for that long and stay relaxed enough that you can rip and the limbs really start to fly faster than maybe you're even capable of holding? But I want to see you build until these things are just rolling. And that's the way that I do it, is like, if I can get them to not squeeze their body and jump out and just be fucking crazy on the first 3 or 4 steps,
Mm-hmm.
they keep the efficiency step to step to step to step and more organized to where they do move through a full range of motion, that they do stay pretty fluid, and that they do actually accelerate a lot longer than they would if you just said, blast it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh my God. That was elite. There's a lot to unpack here. So I'm gonna try to keep it to going to one direction. First, you highlighted a lot of the major problems that I experience with young athletes. Number one, the cadence is absolutely horrible. And what I've noticed, especially when training these shorter distances like 10 yards, is that kids will tend to over rotate
Yeah.
or over stride in an attempt to be the fastest to 10 yards, but not be moving the fastest at 10 yards, which I think leads into why that 10 to 20 is so ass. and
Yeah, it's true.
and we had a problem because my facility, we can only accelerate. I mean, if we go 15 hard, like it's a 5-yard decel before you're hitting a wall. So you got to put the brakes on. So we had to come up
Right.
with solutions. Like we have a shred mill, and for all its drawbacks, it's been really useful for that transition phase because we just don't have a means to develop that. And I needed athletes to experience running longer. But the lack of hip separation that happens, especially as they try to pick up frequency. So if we do like a switch or a triple or any A run, soon as we try to pick up the speed, I get this, I call it like little big, little big. It's just, small range. It almost looks, I call it the donkey paddle because it just looks like you're just trying to like hurry through the water. And so that's a huge problem. But man, like my kids are going to hate me because we use the metronome a lot, especially for like tempo lifting. So we're going to have 240 beats a second going this week.
Yeah.
Till
I don't think that's bad.
No. That or we find like a house music playlist that's got, 240 beats a minute on Spotify.
Yeah.
Might be a little bit more enjoyable. But I love that. So where I want to take this and start with, because I think a lot of the A drills get criticism. I think people are like, it's stupid, it's not sprinting. But I would love for you to talk about how you're developing this full range of motion, what some of these holds look like, because especially for the young athletes, this is a major problem. Like you can run fast all day, but if you can't control the pelvis in a split hip position, you're going to be limited forever.
Yeah. So this is a huge thing for me, is to just teach it right off the jump. Is like, hey, look, this is what a single leg support actually is. And I'm just trying to get him to, the biggest thing is, Al Vermeil said this, we hosted Al Vermeil, I forget what year, maybe 2017. And it was one of the things he said was like, good athletes are pretty hyper, and they're like kind of just like not like they're not thinking about all the sensations, all their feelers, especially not at that age. So for me, it just slow them down a lot. So even my first sprint sessions are inside and they're basically stationary. So we do a lot of stationary stuff to help them basically just slow down and feel it. And then I impress upon them. I do everything. To be honest, I like have them. I don't know if you've ever seen the YouTube movie I Am Bolt, like the Usain Bolt documentary.
Mm-mm.
But I tell them like, hey, watch this guy run and watch how he moves through his hips, and watch what I'm telling you, this is the fastest guy in the world. And they have all these incredible slow motion clips of him running at full speed from the behind, from the front, all kinds of stuff. And so I try to get that idea that, granted, he's like 6.5 feet tall, but he is not the guy coming out of the block going, right? He's not Flintstoning his feet.
Mm-hmm.
He's going, and he's pushing. And if you watch him slow motion, the way things are going and his hips are moving, like you have to do that. So then I explain, like, look, there are times when we may keep things very small to get the higher than normal frequency if we're just looking to like ramp it up.
Mm-hmm.
But all of the time we're talking about, okay, if there's a kid in their class that goes very rapid through an A drill and it's supposed to be a full height exchange, and he gets, say he sits a little bit and he gets short and just kind of punches it. I say, okay, hey, pop out here. I want you guys to watch. I say, okay, give me 3 seconds. And I say, okay, did he get taller or did he start sitting down? They're like, oh, he was sitting. I'm like, okay, well, did he move all the way through his hips or was he Flintstoning it? They're like, oh no, Flintstoning it. So I'm getting their coach's eye, like, for whatever you want to call it, established to what the actual like general like position A, position B is going to look like. And we talk about maximal frequency versus optimal, right? And that's the way that I do it. The other thing that I do is sometimes people will hate this, is I explain to them like, I don't want to hear your feet. Granted, I'm not trying to tell them that I don't want you to hit the ground hard. I'm just saying that when you exchange your hips evenly, top down and bottom up, going like this, there's not a lot of sound. So if I do an A switch, I shouldn't hear a doof before this has gotten up. It should be that they pull and reposition, and it sounds like, when you're in like a karate gi and you punch, it just goes, and it's your like clothes snapping almost. So I get them to get that timing to where they can do a great switch and they make no sound. And then they get like, oh shit, like this should hit at the same time this hits. So now I have my coordination and my timing piece. And I just try to hold them to that for everything where they can actually think about what they're doing. Right? Once they go and run, like I'm going to say stuff to whatever I need to say to get them to do what I want them to do. Right. I even have kids like draw out the first step. So how I say that push, 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 I might go push, 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 just to make sure that they open up. And I might have kids do like more of a bent leg bound and do like 3 bounds and then accelerate off the back of it. So it goes like bung, 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 bung. Anything I can do to get it to switch and exchange is what I do. The A stuff for me is more like keeping them in place where they can feel stuff, making sure that they're masters at it and that they know what good reps are, even down to like coaching their friends, and they do it, which I don't love, but everyone's got an opinion. And for whatever reason, they run pretty good. You know, they can all put down some times.
Yeah, a couple things come to mind. Like one, I think about Stu McMillan talking about like the crescendo of acceleration, right? So you've got this temporal nature to it of how this speeds up. And we always talk like, you know, especially in the literature, it's a spatio-temporal, you know, whatever. And we like to talk a lot about the space, the angles, the shapes. But I hear very few people really talking about the tempo of this. And I mean, I'm just kind of, by my own admission, I'm not spending enough time on this as I'm hearing. And I'm like, this is so like blatant and in front of me because, you know, if I'm playing an instrument, there's like cadence and rhythm that I need to learn. And, you know, even with music, like you can just remember tempos and find them quickly to be able to do the thing you need to do at the speed you need to do it. Right? It's like doing the CPR, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
You just kind of fall right into that rhythm. And I think hearing that like 4+ per second, like we're missing the mark on that. Like we can push all day, but you know, if we're 3.5, like there's an upper limit to how fast you're going to go.
Yeah, I think it's like, you know, you play with it a lot, obviously based on like the person and the size of their body and what they've got. You got some short-legged kids that are going to be pretty frequent, and you got some long-legged kids that are, you know, still really fast that are going to have a more extended, at least 1 and 2 step, you know, and that's like, you just got to know what you're looking at for that. But my opinion with that is, I have a great, so we didn't talk about this, but I worked at Tumbleweed Track Club with some like really like the top 18 sprinters in the world for a while. There's a great picture from Puma where they're all coming out of the blocks from the profile and the shape is identical. It's really, really amazing. But there's the same picture from the front. Everybody's twisted up different. Everybody's making that shape a much different way. So my whole thing is, there are positions and shapes that we got to hit, right? Those are super important to determine how well you are going that way. You know, that's the whole goal. Can't go that way, pushing a whole lot of different ways. But if you can get that push in that rhythm, however you're making the shapes, if you can get that rhythm and you're going that way, we're doing pretty damn good. And that's where I think like, I don't think you got to go that crazy with some of the stuff. Even with the really fast kids and the kid that's a national champion sprinter, and he runs a 10-1, just so everyone knows, like that's a really fast kid. We do very little with even resisted sprinting for various distances. A lot of it is just getting him to run really well, especially after he gets out, because that's the deal, is how well do you run. That rhythm and position, how you hit the ground, is a huge part.
So clearly we're missing the mark on some things. What do you think we're doing too much of? What do you think is being way overvalued that guys are just, we haven't come full circle with it yet? Because the pendulum's always swinging one direction or the other.
Oh man, this is a long one. So it's a highly dependable answer, obviously, but I would say we try to slow things down too much, trying to make them go faster. Right? It's like our strategy, for everything is, let's slow it down. Well, we'll put more weight on him and see if he can go, like, try now. Like, what are you doing? So even with the weighted acceleration, what we did was, you know, we have like two times or 3 times that we use it. And per person, we just go, okay, where are you producing the most power? Where are, you know, like on the graph where we're still you can look at the steps, you know, we tell the kids like up to 6 or 7 steps. I want them to be responsible for that. Ding, 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 ding. And we
Right.
just put whatever resistance we can on there to make the power output the best with still great steps.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a lot,
Yeah.
it's like for longer runs, it's like barely over 10 pounds, like 12 pounds. For short stuff, it's maybe 20 pounds, right? And that's about as far as it needs to go. I think for the most part, we need to start trying to speed things up, because at the top end of things, it's how well they can process this, like everything going like this and ringing off the ground. It's the who makes the best steps.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to make the best ground contacts and ring the best. So it's working on that stuff where I actually think you're going to have a higher rate of return for a lot of kids. I think the weight room is incredible up to a certain point. So I think you have to lift weights. I think you have to improve motor potential, like we talked about really early on, about around the hips and the pelvis. The lats, the shoulder girdle, all those things have to be strong and able to also move fast and be balanced against the pelvis. Those are the things I think are super important, but I think this is taking a shot at myself. We get so wrapped up into fucking bilateral, symmetrical, heavy grind movement that really lock us down and push us farther away from better sprint and athletic performances in a true sense. The robustness aspect can't be overstated, though. Like, how are we supposed to get much more robust? You can do it by sprinting and running and jumping, but that's a really long-term approach to it. That's like you need to take puberty while doing that at high volume to say that's your strategy for development. But I'll also say this. I think most of the fastest kids are their fastest long before most strength coaches get a hold of them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you see a lot of guys coming out of college slower than they were going in, right? And then they go into these combine prep programs where it's all, they're just hammering linear stuff for 6-8 weeks, and they make massive improvements because all that potential is there, but they just haven't developed it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, finish, please.
Dude, so this is my big gripe, and I'm again like somebody who I don't do a lot of combine prep. I've done one over the course of my entire career, because I feel I don't want to be on the hook for all the things that happen. I think there are better guys to do that. It's super tempting because I'm in an area where you have a lot of supposed gurus that are just absolutely guessing. And from my one experience, and this is with verifiable, noteworthy results like this, I can post the receipt. I got a guy who came into it and he was like, "Oh, I ran a 4.36 before the season started, right? At the end of spring." So I'm going, okay, like super fast guy. He also jumps 38 inches. So I was like, oh, fuck. Like all his times, when he sent me his numbers, the only thing I thought was like, if you can just do this on the right day, you're going to be the top of the heap. Well, when he came in and we tested him, it was immediately postseason and his body was beat up. So he wasn't doing it. Okay, this is not a joke, but we got him time before he left to run a sub 4.3. And when he went and ran, he ran a 4.3 low. So did I improve him at all? Fucking no, not at all, right? I got him back to where he was before his body felt like shit, right? So super special kid. He was able to repeat what he needed to repeat. He got some looks. He got some people that were asking about him, but he had a pro day. He wasn't at the combine. It's like, even with all those numbers, someone still didn't really want to see him in a camp. My big thing is most of these kids already have the potential. When they go in, they're beat up and they haven't really trained in a while. So by feeling better and heating right back up and doing the right stuff, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
They're gonna go back to that, but you're not making them any faster. And in fact, I've seen a lot of people that they run slower than what they did right before they started their senior year of football. So it's just like you're just retuning a Ferrari. Yeah, that's basically it. I think the environment coaxes it out. I think it's like, a lot going on.
I mean, I think you're kind of understating the impact, because there's a lot of guys who are going to push hard and end up blowing these guys up, right? You know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
there's the urgency of time. There's the uncertainty of what their, stress response adaptation is going to be like. Like, is this athlete going to be recovered enough to do the thing they need to do? And I think just
Yep.
out of like insecurity and just, lack of certainty, guys will push too hard in an attempt to get the result. So the fact that you can even get somebody back to that is good, because I mean, getting a body to recover and fine tuning the performance is not an easy task, man.
I think that is like the hard part when you get those guys is that you don't know, unless you're lucky and you can get a lot of their programming.
Hmm.
And I have a couple kids that are basically like, I'm kind of excited for this because I have a couple kids that are now junior and senior in college that I got as junior and senior in high school, where I know them and they send me their programs for each piece because I get them for summer, I get them for spring breaks, I get them for all the little whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That makes me feel more comfortable. With the guy I worked with from Ohio, I was like, he's Bobcat, but the guy I worked with from Ohio, they had a really good program, to be honest, and he was very well trained. He was super smart. So what I do, the only thing I thought I could do in those situations, and this is what I do with every athlete that I get, is I say, what works well for you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what have you done where you're like, damn, that hit? And they'll tell you. Right. So I go off of that. I do test, but for the most part, I just start training and I try to be very conservative for the first week. And I also, I show them like a very simple chart. It's pinned on my Instagram, the first thing, of the stress recovery adaptation curvature for the different systems of the body. And that their connective tissue curvature, once you're training above 80% speed or load, is taking a beating and is going to be a little slower than other things like muscle tissue or your nervous system in various ways.
Yep.
And I fucking stay there. You know, I don't try to I'll stand on that hill of if you come in 1% underprepared, but 101% healthy in the right environment, super excited as that level of athlete that's had really good prep, they're going to show out.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're at the very least not going to be a dud.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the only way that I think you can do it. I think the moment you try to make your whole career based on, look what I do to these guys in 6 weeks, they know better. These are not dumb people. They have educations. They have a lot of experience. They know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
We know what we're doing as professionals in terms of overstating the claim.
Some people.
Some people are in God mode, which is, good for them.
Yeah. So, I mean, I want to circle back a little bit because I had asked you about, what you feel like is maybe overvalued. And one of the things that kind of keeps coming up is this idea. It's what I perceive to be a big problem in S&C, in that maybe just American strength and conditioning is just, if there's a problem, we just want to solve it with more force. So we're running like, screw it. We're going to run with weight, It's like,
yeah.
And I remember there was a day, we were doing some resisted runs. And we don't have any of the fancy devices. We have a couple extra genies, which we've actually gone back to. We have a run rocket, which is really great, but honestly, it's like overpowered for my young athletes. So very few of them can use it because like at level 0, it's still got a ton of drag.
Significant.
Yeah, it's significant. And we were just doing so many resisted runs that one day I'm like, I just kind of shook my head. I'm like, this is ass. Like, I know we're talking about DRF and horizontal orientation of force and all that stuff's super important. I'm like, but this is not getting it done. Like, more resistance, less resistance. Like, these kids need to open up. They need to hit the speed. Like, and it was kind of like one of those dumb moments, right? It's like, oh, we're going to run fast. We're going to train fast to be fast. Which is like this great epiphany. But I think sometimes it gets lost, right? Because it's very popular now. There's a lot of research around it. So guys are talking about it. But I just felt like it wasn't leading to a lot of the results. And then you talk about...
Go ahead.
No, man, I'm finished. Take it.
Dude, I have a huge opinion about that. And where I think, this is not to say that I feel like my results are better than everyone's or whatever. This is just to say, sometimes I listen to people's problems or I watch like what they're doing and I'm like, all right, like I'm clearly doing something okay, because in a high concentration, I have a lot of kids that have good times. And I know our procedure in terms of My kids will tell you how many times I measure and remeasure cones because I don't want to send them even down to the jump mat. I won't turn the plyo mat on just jump mode to give you a high number. I'm going to tell you, you jump 22 and a half inches, right? When it comes to speed, I have a lot of kids that can put down wild 10s and wild 20s, right? And what I think this comes from is I don't give a shit about the start. I don't care about how you come out of a static position.
Mm-hmm.
I generally, and this is not to say like if you're doing the combine, I'm not going to do the start, but I generally will give you, so if I set up my free lap, I go 80 centimeters and then I give them a 1 yard. I walk back 3 footsteps, a 1 yard. They can take a 1 step. They can do whatever they want. They can walk in a little bit, but I don't have them start out of like a 2-point start or a fall-in start and jump out because I think it fucks with the way that they know how to accelerate.
Mm-hmm.
And what I get with 1 yard, and I'm not in my head confused and going, oh, he ran a 1-4-2-10 over the 1 yard. Like that's a real 1-4-2. I know that it's not. And I tell them, look, that's a 1 step. That's not from a static. But any which way, I see kids accelerate really, really well with this much fucking momentum going into it. And they can go really fucking fast on even the 10 to 20. These kids are running really, really, really fast. And I was like, okay, if I'm going to see them and we're going to train, say, 3 days a week, am I going to waste my time working on static start mechanics that I'm not coming off a block?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not pushing off a horizontal surface.
Right.
I can only get so much lean until their foot's, like bent like that. Like, what am I really doing? So I'll give them a 1-step walk in and have them blast and just get that dum 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 dum, that rhythm. And when they do it, they fucking rip. So I'm like, okay, every single time I have them run, I know that their velocity that they're hitting by the back of that 10 is way higher than what a lot of these kids are hitting if they come out of a static start.
Mm-hmm.
So why would I not do that? Right? I still do the other stuff, but why would I not spend most of my time training at higher velocities for the same distance? In sports, you're going to get you might get a little hop and then I go, but I have a little something.
Yep.
As a wide receiver, you don't just take off unopposed and where your start matters. Yeah, it's how well you use that like little bit of momentum to rocket out of that shit. So I do a lot of stuff that has a little, maybe 1 step, a skip start. Like I have them like kind of skip in and then crush it.
Yep.
Or walk in if they can't time the skip, but something like that so I can always get nasty acceleration for 10 to 20 yards.
Yeah, I went recently and watched a bunch of our girls play. They go to the same high school, play on a soccer team, and almost every run that they made was off of a jog, right? Nothing was static. And I got in the habit for a minute of watching the first step. I'm like, this is never happening. And anybody can manufacture a good first step, a good, still shot picture, right?
Yeah.
These big angles. We're drawing the hashtag on it. I'm like, anybody can do this, but like, what happens after that? And there's another piece, I think, to sports that you're touching on. How does the change of direction piece fit into what you're doing? Because obviously different cadence, different tempo. But I tell my kids, like, deception and, evasion, like you might just need to create that much space to put a guy on your hip and distribute a ball. Like you don't need a ton of distance. Like we're talking about just being able to close space or open space. And these are very tight windows. So, in addition to your linear stuff, how do you work in the multi-directional skill sets?
It's the same thing. Like, if I'm talking about doing all the foot, ankle, lower leg stuff, it's generally like on a second day, we will do the same kind of thing, but I'll work more inside, outside edge stuff. We do a lot of, shout out McKinnis Watson. We do a lot of, multi-direction plyometrics where we're doing like, small over one big, small over one big, in a lot of different directions. We do an F lot. We do a lot of like the low box shuffle, change in direction. I'm huge with getting them to understand that it's not dropping the height of your body indiscriminately, that it's really like you drop as much as you need to redistribute a limb. And to get this like kind of smoother level change. I really keep it super simple because a lot of them are really good at changing directions, but they generally what I'm correcting is how they're coached to change directions, which in football tends to be, I'm going to run full speed at you and then I'm going to drop down to where my ass is in like a kindergarten chair.
Yeah.
And those are my things. So I try to tell them, hey, look, when I change directions and I say I'm moving this way and I plant and I go this way, I should hit in an angle that redistributes me on its own. So that the moment from when I stop and redirect is the same moment, right? I don't want to see you get stuck and get caught over on your leg. And so it's just trying to get them to feel, hey, do you see how when you put your leg out there that you got shot back and you didn't even try? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, all right, watch this guy when he does it. Do you see how his hips are like this and they don't go like this? They're like, yeah. You know, those are the things that I work on. We do a lot of stuff with like eccentric rate of force development. I'm not going to lie about that. With a lot of like bounding off of things and sticking. A lot of the cone grab drills where they like run in from 2 yards, hit it, grab, and have to run out. Stuff like that where like we increase the distance into the cut. But I don't go crazy trying to overcoach it. I think if they just understand like how to be a fucking technician and smoothly reposition their body, and that if they can stay a little bit more relaxed going into it, that they're actually going to use their elasticity. It's the same conversation, like the optimal frequency versus max. I'm like, all right, you hit that shit like a rock and you got stuck on yourself for like a fucking half of a second. And then you kind of like came out of it without falling down, basically. I'm like, look, if you were a little chill, and we have a couple kids that are super fluid movers. And I go, hey, look at Snow. Do you think that Snow is holding his breath and dropping? He's like, no, he's fucking just going, oof, and he's in and out before he even realizes it. So I try to put them onto like what these actual concepts are and not hammer it. I think that's the best way to do it, is just like make sure that they understand body position and that it's not like everything's not wildly voluntary. When it comes to the gameplay stuff, what you said about like you don't have to make like 55 feet of distance. You need some space and some time, and those windows are small. So a lot of times when you're doing the most, like you're not going to make it through the door when it closes. If you're fluid and you try, I tell a lot of kids, look, like you're not going to do crazy shit going 100%. You're 90%, you're still in control and you can make a move, right? It's still fast enough to get someone else to move. But if you're on offense, like I did a presentation during COVID and I thought I was a genius. It's called the X Factor, but it was like, look at a defensive player and an offensive player. What I saw that made the difference was the offensive player had to be smooth, but they had to be a clear decider.
Right.
Like just make fucking one move and make it well. And then there's that 50 millisecond mechanical delay window that defender's got to have that you're exploiting. That's your little bit of fucking time, right? That's the door before it closes. And they have to be in the ultimate ready state. So like they have to be on the ball, their foot ready to like quickly reposition as a defender to have any chance of keeping with it. So those are my two things, are like make a fucking decision. You can't go at 100% and do that with control.
Right. Yeah, I forget. There was a paper I read at one point. It was, most agility actions are actually at like a jogging pace. And, you think we train COD, we're like full throttle, right? 100%. Like that's almost never happening. But one thing you touched on was the footwork. Lee Taft's low box series is just one of the ultimate things. But we had a football guy start this week, and of course he's doing the low box drill, like he's running through the tires, right? You get these choppy feet. His center of mass is kind of staying over. And this is a guy who complained about feeling really slow off the line. And so I showed him a clip of Miles Davis from the past, this week playing the Bengals. And he hits like this like double Euro step, real wide plant angles, upper body sway, just boom, boom. And I'm like, you see these plant angles? Like this is how you move. Like you've got to get your foot outside of your center of mass. You can't cut when your feet are under you. So this like choppy footwork. And like as soon as he did it, he's like, okay, like I feel it now. I get it. Like it was just a whole different experience for him to be like, got it. You know what I mean? And I think the good athletes can take that. Like I have like one felt sense experience of what this should be like. And it's like, they're locked in.
Dude, there's so much with, if you can get, I try to explain it as much as I think the person that I'm working with can take.
Yeah.
Is like, even for defensive players, like coming out of back pedals, I really like to reduce those drills into like maybe 1 or 2 steps before they, like, say it's a T step, they punch forward, and I will go all the way down to like, hey, let's look at where your foot is on the ground. So like when it's in grass, so like look at the angle of your foot, where it punched, and then we look at where the next step. So bing, bing, where's this step hit in the ground? And when these kids do it right, and we have the film, and the body position is great, the distance that they travel off that same step, and again, the momentum that they carry out of it on the back end that they can feel is way more. So they know it's not just in this like silly old white guy's brain that this is the way to do it. They're like, oh, fucking, well, I tell them like space time. I'm not a defensive back, clearly, right? You don't want me to coach you how to be a DB, but I can work with you on better foot positioning. Where I see, and my big problem with football is everything you will hear, stay inside the frame of your body. When it's cutting, they're like, stay inside the frame of your body. How the fuck do you stay inside the frame of your body when you're trying to push and go somewhere else? And this is even down to the lateral stuff. I've asked so many people, I said, why, before you guys, if you're doing a lateral, so say I'm going like lateral shuffle and I'm going to punch forward and go straight ahead. Why do I need to step over three things before I punch? Because if you watch a linebacker figuring out what's going on, if they're not going ding, 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 punch. They're going like little slide, little position, bang, and then they go. It's not at all what they're training to do when they do high volume skill work, sometimes with the private coach or in practice. And so that's my big thing is, I know what they're telling you, and when you do their drills, you do their fucking drills. But I'm telling you, when we practice movement and how to move faster and be better in multi directions, these are the things that you have to do. And I promise you, even if it's like I run forward, I hit my like 2 foot, my little stop step, and then I have to hip turn, flip and punch back this way, lean. If you know where you're going, lean back the way you're going to go when you hit your punch. And they all go like boom, and they go out 2 yards. I'm like, dude, you're 6 feet before you knew where you were, as opposed to going tuck, 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 and you're 1 yard.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? And then you watch the best kids do it on their own.
Yep.
Right? The kids that I've never had to tell any of this shit, I go, oh, good job. You know, like that's what I tell you. It's like, it's there. So it's just, you have to understand why some of these kids are so great in space. It's because they naturally orient themselves. They know how to do it. They're never the most muscular. It's just, that's not those kids. It's these kids that are super fluid. I think that is the hard thing as a strength coach when you watch kids is clearly they put enough force into the ground. If you listen to a football game, when they're running, even a shallow cut or a little veer at 18 miles an hour, it's a strong foot into the ground.
Yeah.
But it's not a maximal voluntary effort, right? It's just something that they know how to do. And so when we coach, we have to try to get fluidity of movement to be the priority, as much as, hey, look, yes, you're fluid, but you also have to go that way, you know, and then, or run behind them. I have kids when they do like any kind of 5 yard, say they do a 1 shuffle, hard sit, and then run.
Yep.
Oh, I'm gonna stand there and I'm gonna try to grab them, right? And they fucking run away really quick. They do the whole thing. They position better because they don't want to be touched. They hit and they're out in the same moment, which is my whole teaching point, is don't get stuck. It's the same moment we're out. And so anything that you can do. Last piece about the, oh man, I totally forgot what I was going to say about the fluidity piece. Oh, so with the acceleration, this came to my head and I think coaches will love this. The biggest thing I think we fuck up on the acceleration is the telling them about their knees. Like, don't put, like, when you hit, remember we were talking about making the hashtag and the beautiful side shape? That fucked it up the most, because generally when people look at a great position, they look for a straight line from your heel to your knee to your ass to your shoulder.
Yep.
And most of the time, we don't see that great of a line down the leg. And for what I see is a lot of kids, they push and they kind of like, if they're, say my knee's like this, they pop their knee almost backwards and they they don't go this way as a unit.
Yep.
So what I do is I only tell kids about the hips, and then just like trying to grab them off the change of direction, I try to grab their heel on their back foot.
Mm.
And they pull that foot out real quick, and
Yeah.
they just run that way. But they don't extend their knees because they don't have time, and they're pushing it back at me.
Yep. Yep.
So that's what I tell you. Anything you can do.
Yeah, it's that we call it like rip, right? You got to rip that foot off the ground because sometimes they're just hanging out there too long, and it's you kind of finance the push on this stride at the expense of the next one, right? Because now that front foot's got to hang in the air longer, so you're landing way in front of your center of mass. Well, now you got a giant break, so now you're pulling yourself through, and it's just like there's just so many consequences, and we noticed that when we were chasing this like picture perfect position on the acceleration. I mean, this has been a couple of years now, thank God. Like we've rectified that, but yeah, it's a huge problem. What I like though, when you're talking about trying to grab these athletes and stuff, is so much of what we do in the gym space is just decontextualized, right? There's no shot clock, there's no crowd, there's no opponent ball objective. We're just running in space. So I think giving a little bit of that feedback of evasion or just kind of reactivity to it, I think sometimes just elicits better mechanics. Like even with the football drills you talked about, it's like nobody's doing these choppy steps in the game. Like they're reacting, and it usually looks like a lot of stuff that we're trying to teach when it comes to movement.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the bigger. This is where sometimes I sit and I go, "What the fuck what are we doing?" Like you watch them. Like, look, and the other thing is, some of these these kids that are great are just great. It's like they are really, really astoundingly athletic and can pick up every drill that you give them. And then you also have the kids that are astoundingly athletic that can't do any of the drills that you're doing. And so I'm like, okay, like I guess I'll just like make sure that they're healthy, and I'll find, like you said, contextual ways to challenge the output. I like to give kids looks that are similar to gameplay, even if it's just what I have them do and the way I explain it.
Yep.
If it's like a 5-yard shuffle and then they have to punch and run vertically behind them, I tell them like, hey, look, what you're watching it develop. Okay, gotta go. And then that's the way I want them to do it. I tell them, hey, what's the most important part of the drill? Is it the shuffle or is it the flip and we go? And they're like, it's the flip and we go. And so they set it up well. But if you give them those little bit of pieces and you just let them be really athletic and say, like, they flip and go and there's a kid running off the sideline that they've got to chase and converge on, they fucking do it.
Every time.
So, and if they're slow, they're slow. Like they have work to do. That's all you can do as a coach, is not thought box them. I think that is really a problem that I had 10 years ago was I know a lot of shit. Let me tell you all the shit that I know. And they're going like, I don't even know what like dorsiflexion. You know what I mean? That's already one big word.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about spatiotemporal fucking organization of this motor structure. And they're like, they didn't get anything. So that to me is, where I sit now is pick two things, hammer it for as long as you're going to work with them in their career. And when that window is closed, find the next thing that is like, you can hammer. And I think that's the way you make long-term progress.
That's awesome. Ryan, this has been like an absolute masterclass. We're going over an hour here. We could probably go another hour or two, I'm sure, because I feel like we're just getting started. But I want to hit you with a couple like quick hitting questions. So short answer stuff that I think maybe people can still get some value out. And then we'll wrap up with where people can find out more about you. So let's go to the Instagrams. Most overrated drill, assessment, or tool you're seeing right now in the world of speed?
Guns that blazing. Is a tough one. That is really tough. Most overrated assessment, I would say, would be like anything like A stand or A switch related. I think is not a great assessment. I think you got to watch them run. Yeah.
All right. What's an underrated drill or tool you wish, most 14 to 15-year-olds were using or doing?
An underrated drill. I would say something like maybe like a straight, like a semi bent leg, straight leg bound. I think that is, if you can get really good at that, it clears up a lot of problems.
Yeah, I really like the bent leg prime time or scissor bounds more than the straight leg. There's just something about the field. You actually feel more of that whip from the hip.
100%. I don't think the straight leg bound, a true straight leg bound, is that valuable. I think it's a little odd in the timing. I always look at what naturally happens.
Yeah.
And it's not to swing the leg up and keep the knee extended. It's to kind of swing it up and to let it drift until it flexes a little.
Yeah, I like that. All right. Best coaching cue for acceleration or max velocity. I
For
like the
acceleration.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I like that heel grab. I know it's not really
I think
cue.
the best thing. Yeah, push in the rhythm. I think is if you can get it, and then I do that little push, so they hear like a ding, ding, ding. Because each step has got to be a little bit more than the next.
Yeah.
Right? You're not making additional speed if it's da da da. If that's the same, we're just at the same pace. But if I can bang, 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 push.
Yeah.
That's. I mean, I sound like a crazy person, but that's what I say. And then for top velocity, man, it's something around like I tell the kids, hey, look, in the beginning you're pushing on the ground, like push on it, and then when I say, hey, you're running really quick, like you're gonna tap it. So you're pushing, and now we're tap, and they tend to understand like I'm trying to like maintain my body position while I tap the ground and keep like skipping a rock, stand before we go, and the rock goes into the water,
That's good. I like that. Get that quick ground contact. All right, man. This was awesome. Can't wait to go back and listen to it again. But where can people find out more about you?
I would say Instagram is probably the best way to find out, like just to kind of my thoughts. I do a mentorship with a guy named Jason Lee called The Performance Paradigm. This is more for young and new coaches that it's not very performance oriented. It's more towards, hey, how do I be a solid strength and conditioning professional? But it's something we've been doing for the past 3 years. So I think it's good.
Incredible. I'll make sure I link to that. I'll make sure I get that from you. And man, I
Awesome.
appreciate it. Again, this was incredible. I know we'll stay in touch. So thanks for coming on.
Likewise. Thanks, bud.
If you enjoyed this episode, please remember to rate and review us with 5 stars only, then subscribe so you can get all the latest updates.